Okay, this is going to be a real-time implementation of the China Gold game to give you an idea of how to play it. Every time you start a turn, you will throw these 3 discs, and if you hover over them, you can see the first disc can be either a 0 or 1, the second is 0 or 2, and the third is 1 to 2. I will leave you to do the probability calculations for all of the values. You can get anything from 1 to 5 at the beginning of the game. That'll change later, and I'll point out why when that happens. Right now I've rolled a 4, and at the top it conveniently makes it easy for you to know. I can flip any 4 discs that are in a row right next to each other without any gaps in between. So I could do like those 4, I could do these 4 because that's still in a row. My rows can go down this way. So there are several orientations they could be. Now, I am the mountain player while my opponent is the river player. My goal is to finish these green blobby regions completely before him. I'm going to go ahead and make a move so I don't take up too much of his turn time. I'm going to fill these 4. That puts me at risk for taking these 5, and he's going to have to counter that or go for a bigger score. The reason I picked that line rather than the other way is if I had gone like 4 here, these are all on the same line for him. If they all finish, he gets to collect them. That is an interesting move for him. If I were to collect here and finish these exact 3, I would collect these 5 and he would collect these 2 because his one river would be completely done at that point. Instead, I think he might have made a mistake and forgot that I can collect this direction. Now the question is, do I want to fill this one or this one? And it's a little iffy on which one I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and fill this one. Do I have an extra? Oh, I still have one up here that was red. Now I unclicked it and can submit that. Never did say good luck. Okay, he put some up here. So right now I can take these and that. But if I do, I would collect these 5 and finish out my mountain there. But I would also finish his river here. After I take these 5, that would leave 4 complete things left in his mountain. But here's the really, really well done part for him. If I leave this here and he rolls a 4 and he were to take these, he would take both of his completed rivers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. And I would only get 1 token collected to his 8. I do not want to leave that the same. So this is a great opportunity for me to show you the second action. Instead of flipping up the number of markers that you rolled with your tokens, you can instead flip exactly 1 gold side down. I'm going to flip one in the middle of his pattern down. And now he cannot collect this one. He can collect the other one, but that would be 3 for him, 2 for me. We'd both make a little bit. It'd be okay. Now, he might go this direction and just take these 4 that are ready to go for him right now. The only problem would be... no, there's not much of a problem with that move. I'm guessing he's going to take these 5 right here. That would leave me still 3 to do, and they're both ones he can collect easier. We'll see what he does with it. He decided to hide a marker instead. Now I am not ready to collect this instantly on my own. I get to flip up 4 markers. I am going to go ahead and go for these 4 or those 4, but I don't want to help him with his 6. If I did these 4, that would leave him those 3 to finish an entire river of 6. So I'm going to do these 4 and threaten a different area entirely. He rolled a 5, so he can't collect the ones over here he was probably eyeballing. He'll have to go somewhere else. China Gold is a very, very good strategic game. Now, what you roll can ruin some of the strategy of it, where if you just keep getting 5 after 5 after 5, you're not going to have as many options open to you as you'd like. Or here, I really want to collect these 3 so I can collect my entire 5-region mountain, but I only rolled a 2, so I don't have the ability to collect that right now. I am thinking about putting those 2 there so that this mountain will be 1 move away from finishing. Trying to see if there are any other good spots I could go. I don't want to include that one, but I could include these 2, so I'm only 2 away from finishing that. Or I could include these 2 and be almost ready to do that. Or I can use my action actually finishing a mountain right now. There's nothing except for these 2 we've been sitting on for a while that he can take right now, so I'll just go ahead and take my free 2. What option I made there is where the good players versus the bad players end up winning or losing this game, are actions like that in the beginning. Okay, so he claimed all 6 with that move. That was a really good play on his part. I am going to finish these 4 right here. I'm going to hope he does not roll a 2 or a 3. Anything but 2 or 3 will be good for me. Anything else that he rolls will be bad for me. Anywhere better for me than that? I think that's probably my best roll right now. So I'm going to collect these 4. If he gets a 2, he can collect these 4 and just gain exactly the same amount I did. They're all gone. That was a perfect roll for me right now, because I want to take these 2 away before he finishes this river. All he'd have to do is fill in 1 bubble, and his river would be done. But if I go here, I can collect them by finishing my mountain before he has a chance. There's nowhere he can collect with a single 1 dot right now, but there are all kinds of interesting moves he can do with that to put me in a bad position. That's a perfect example, because if he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, he will collect both of these regions. Now there's something I need to point out right now. After his last action back here, I forgot to point out we put 1 of the 5 markers back in the box. So now we're only rolling the 0, 2 and the 1, 2. So our options now are anywhere from 1 to 4 instead of 1 to 5. The reason that happened is at most there is a single spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. I could only do 4 this direction. I can only do 4 this direction. As soon as one of these 2 spots, I guess actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 with the top and bottom, as soon as only one of those spots remain, another disc will be taken out of the game and we'll go down to 1 to 3 chance. They'll put the 0, 2 back and they'll take the 0, 1 back out. They'll replace it. With 1 movement, there's not a lot I can do. I can try to threaten him doing this. If I did that, he'd be able to finish this. If I did that, he won't be able to. I would have really liked a 2, actually. A 2 would have let me do good stakes there. Do I want to threaten a different... I don't want to threaten a different place. I just want to go back to where we were. This is just way too good for him to get all of those at once. I don't want him to be able to take 8 tokens. I have heard people complain about this game where the same action gets taken over and over and over. For example, he flipped the 1 up, I flipped it back down. If he rolled a 1 again, he could flip it back up. I'd always have the option to flip it back down. There's nothing that limits how many times you can turn down, except for your own personal skill. The only reason to flip down is your opponent has too much of an advantage with what they've rolled, and you're hoping either they roll a different number or you roll a different number and have different options available. Now here's an opportunity for me to show what different options are available to me. I can go up here and flip these 4. He would need these 2 to collect. I would need these 3 to collect. He would need those 3 to collect. I need those same 3 to collect. So there are 2 regions that are both going to be collecting if I go with those 4. The other way I could do this is go with these 4. He wouldn't have anything he can collect there or there, but I would only be 1 marker off of collecting something. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It puts me in a slightly better position than him. He can still take these 4 up here, and it would collect these 3, but that would leave me the opportunity to take these 5 or these 2. Those wouldn't be very good options for him at this point. Okay. Well, I rolled a 4, and there are only 2 places where I could do 4. One of them collects for him and offers him a chance to get the others. The other one would allow him a possibility of collecting there or there, and then whichever one he doesn't get, I do get. And then there's this 2 and that one. There are a lot of things that this is going to be risky. I'm hoping that he rolls... Actually, one of our tokens is going to be taken off the board. There will be no way to roll a 4 ever again once I flip these up. So it's going to be from 1 to 3. A 2 would be good for him. A 1 would be good for him. A 2 would be good for him, but a 3 would be unusable. I'm hoping he rolls a 3. There's not a good chance he does, but at the very least, whatever he takes, I'm going to take something else somewhere. Actually, I guess I could roll poorly and not be able to collect anything else, but we'll see what he does with it. So he takes his 5. I get a 2. So by putting my 2 here, I can collect these 4. He got a 3, so there's nowhere on the board he can collect with a 3. His only options are here and here. He might flip one of my tokens back down. Probably this one, actually. Because then I wouldn't have access to this grouping of 4. He did. He flipped that back down. I could do this and take 1 for myself and give 1 to him. Or I can go somewhere else. Let me see. If I were to do this, this would give him 1 and give him access to more. No matter where I go over here, this would give him access to collect. If I go up here, that would give him access to collect, that would give him access to collect, but we would both have the same access to the same grouping. And I get 1 extra no matter what, whether he takes it or I take it. So maybe I will do that. In fact, I might take this one and make it the least likelihood he can collect them all. But I'm going to leave it 1 to 3. Depending upon where he goes, he might kill the 1 to 3 option. He's probably just going to take those 2 because he'd collect them both. I wouldn't get either of them. That is his best option, but it does potentially give me these 5 if I can roll a 3. He can start the end game if he goes to either of these areas. But if he goes to any of them, I'll be able to collect something somewhere. If he'd had a 1, he could go there, and I wouldn't be able to do anything except for there. Now, I can collect no matter how he does it. If he went 1 there. No, if he'd rolled a 1 and flipped that tile up, that would have been nice, but he can only do 2. I've mentioned the end game, but only briefly. The end game of China Gold is once there's only one line of 3 that's available. Ooh, that was an interesting move. I can trigger the end game, and if I do, he can collect 5, which would leave me 1. And nothing else there. I don't want any of that. I ought to delay the end game a little more. Now, I actually took it back so that there's more than one way to do 4. So we took another one of these out, and our options for rolling are from 1 to 4 now. By uncovering both of those tokens that we both did. He can't do anything with a 3 at all, so we'll see what he decides to cover up. I am a little surprised he didn't just take the 2. He hit another marker. We're both being really cautious about where we're going with this. I can't do anything over here where flipping 1 would put me at advantage to him. Like flipping either of these would let me have an opportunity to get the rest of them. So that's a possibility. Or I could just take 1 and get it out of the way. I think I'm going to threaten this spot instead. If I go for this tile, I would only be able to collect on a 1. But if I go for this tile, I can collect on a 1, a 2, or a 3. So I'm going to flip this tile up. He's still really trying to roll a 1, so he can just get these 3 off the board, not have to worry about it. He should take these 2. It could potentially give me those 3, but he guaranteed gets the 2. And since we have the 1 to 4 rolling right now, my chance of getting a 1 has gone down. The only way I can get a 1 is if I roll a 0 here and a 1 here. So that's a 1 in 4 chance. Now that the discs are back, the probabilities have changed. We've hit the end game. There is only one spot of 3 in a row. So now all of the thrown discs markers are taken out of play, and you can flip 1 or 2 tiles every turn. So I can collect these 3, but he can collect these 5, he can collect those 3. There are all kinds of things he can do here. Let me think about where I want to go with this. I wouldn't mind if he took those 3, because I could just counter take these 2. That's not a bad trade for me. So I can take these 3 and let him take these 5. Or I can try to play longer. No, he'd be able to take all those if I covered that one at all. He'd be able to take those. Messing with this, whoever goes there first loses. So I go here, then he goes there. That would leave me the ability to take this one and split this one up top, leaving him to go there, me to go there. Then he can delay, giving him either of these or either of these. I can always delay there. I don't see any other options other than just collecting right now. He's going to take his 5. I think he might have me, and that's perfectly fine. He is probably the best active player in China Gold on the server right now. The top 20 rankings up here have a lot of good players up here, but only a couple of them that play. Hawaii plays, Yanyo plays. I have seen this guy play once, but none of these other top 10 have I seen play. If I expand it out, Jan plays, I play. I've not really seen any of those others in the list play this game actively. Oh, he went ahead and did that. I was planning to do something like that. So let me see what I want to do here. If I click that one in, it'll give him the collection. If I put that one there, let me see what's my order like. I can just collect the one that's mine. Then he takes something. I can delay more up here. I'm going to collect the one and stall for time. If I wanted to be really careful, I could plan out the next 6 or 7 moves. That is what I would do in a competitive game, but since this is a real-time video, I'm going to try to just keep the game flowing a little bit. I'm going to think through it, but I'm not going to rush or think as hard as I should. This part of the game, once there is no flipping tokens back down, you can predict every move in the future. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes your opponent won't flip a single token. They'll flip 2 and actually collect for you, and you wouldn't have expected it, because then the order is in their favor for all future grabs. It makes it a really cool part of the game. China Gold is an underplayed game on BGA and should be a very common one in my opinion. The board doesn't change, the strategy doesn't change, but the roles you get, the order in which people cover the board, there's just so many variations of how this game can play out, and they're all a little bit unique. It becomes really exciting. Now, since he's taking a long time to think about this move, I think he is going to try to checkmate me by forcing the moves only to favor him. I can't go to either of these. I don't want to collect for him. That would just be collecting for him and stalling a little bit. I can collect for myself. Let's see if I want to include one of these up here. If I go there and he were to stall, if I were to cover these 2 and then he were to stall by just flipping this one, if I flip either of those, he gets the final collection. If I flip that, he flips that, leaves me in the same position. So I cannot flip both of these or it'd put me in a bad position. But he can put me in that same position by just flipping these 2 if I flip this one. Or if I flip these 2, he can flip this one or both of those. So he has a lot of power to put me in a bad situation up here. He can't flip these and these if I just go here and give that to him. If I give that to him, he can collect there. Then I go to any one of these 3, and he just fills in the other 1 or 2 that are necessary to get the order against my favor. So none of those moves actually put me ahead. I can intentionally give up these up here. Collect this. Then he has to collect, I have to collect, he has to collect, I have to collect. So if I were to do that, I'd be giving up 4 and 3. That would be enough for him to win. Is there any way I can give up something else? If I go there, he goes there, I'd have to give up some more of that. I don't see a way out of this trap. So let me take these 2. Then he stalls in the middle. Well, I'm going to play it to be as close in score as I can. I'm not going to win this game. He's got me. He collects these 4. this is the order of the game. He's going to collect these 4. I'm going to collect this 1. He's going to collect these 3, putting him at the win condition. I'm going to collect this 1. Then he has to flip one of these 2, leaving the rest for me. And that was why I let him take those 4, was to make sure at the very least I collect these instead of being completely destroyed. But he went over the 31 win mark in that process. And great game for that. I hope you've enjoyed this little video showing how to play China Gold, explaining a little bit of the tactics, but not all of it. I'm going to link in the description of the item a tutorial for China Gold. So I have a tutorial here. I'll go ahead and open it and show you what it kind of looks like. I will put this link in there. It allows you to see a text description of how to play the game, mechanically what to do, so it offers you what to do. And as you go, it'll keep explaining stuff. Sometimes it says this do action to complete. So each time a river or mountain is flipped up, the active player collects. Flip up the 3 markers highlighted in blue. So I have to actually, in this tutorial, physically click on these 3 and then flip them up. So I had to zoom out of my view because this box was over top of the turn marker. You'll have to make sure that your zoom is appropriate. And then I can physically flip them up to continue the tutorial. That's what most people have trouble with. Once you do that, it'll take you through the game and explain more. I hope that between these 2 resources, you're able to learn this game, and maybe I'll see you in some tournaments. Have a wonderful day.